1. You give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. John 5:39. And search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 48. Do I want verse 1? No, I don't want verse 1. We will pick it up at about verse 9, I should say. Jeremiah 48 and 9, I should say. We'll move around the chapter because there's certain things I want to go ahead and hit right now. He said, give wings unto Moab, that it may flee and get away. For the cities thereof shall be desolate, without any to dwell therein. This is what this man tells you. Cursed be he that do the work of Yahuwah deceitfully. Cursed be he that keep back his sword from blood. Now, we'll have to sit back here and really try to understand what he's trying to tell us. Because first off, the first one should be self-explanatory. He say, cursed be the one that do the work of Yah deceitfully. So let's sit back and let's take an example of what that could mean. Let's look at 2 Corinthians chapter 11, I want to say. You hold it, Jeremiah 48. Hello?
Hello.
Shalom, what's up, man? So let's look at this 2 Corinthians 11. That man say you should be damned if you do the work of Yah deceitfully. Make sure I'm in the right place. I am. So 2 Corinthians 11 and 11. It says, wherefore, because I love you not, Elohim, no. But what I do, that I will do, that I may cut off occasion from them which desire occasion, that when they may esteem, they be found even as we. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Mashiach. And no marvel, for Hashatan himself is transformed into a Malachim of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Now Paul just made this instance. He said they're deceitful workers. I want you to look at something in Revelation chapter 2 though. Remember, he said, cursed be he that do the work of Yahuwah deceitfully. That's what the man stated. This is what is stated in Jeremiah. I'm just going to pull something up real quick while y'all swinging to Revelation 2 and 5, if I'm not mistaken. 2 and 5. And we holding Jeremiah 48 and 10 while we swing it over here to Revelation 2 and 5. When we look at the word for work in that Jeremiah verses, your occupation or your business or your workmanship, the word is malaka. And you got a lot of people. That's why he said they deceitful workers. So if you're a deceitful worker, you're doing it how like Satan did in the garden, purposely going out to deceive, doing the work of Yah deceitfully. So a lot of people hold it. That's why the man say, he that a steward of Elohim must be found faithful. So a lot of people holding the word, and they're holding it to pull off deceitful means. And this man say that you should be cursed because of it. Now I was going to grab Galatians chapter 1, but I just referenced what he says about 1 and 5, where Paul say, if another come preaching another gospel, which we have not preached, then you might bear well with him, and that they might be damned. So you have certain people, you have a lot of people like this here, right? They feel like somebody's telling you an Israelite, they telling you to keep the laws, telling you about Yahushua in whichever capacity they feel like they can tell you about him. You know, everybody tells them about him differently, some according to the scriptures in a more perfect manner, and some not. They feel like, okay, they doing the work, but yet if they have in their heart malintent, hypocritical ways or evil ways in them, then in actuality you're doing the work deceitfully, because you're what, matter of fact, you're what the master said in Matthew 23 about the scribes and Pharisees. You're hypocrites, outwardly appearing to be righteous unto men, but inwardly full of dead men's bones and hypocrisy and iniquity. And that would be doing the work of Yahuwah deceitfully. When he told them to beware of the leaven of the scribes and the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy, you're doing the work deceitfully, because a hypocrite is a liar. Nevertheless, Revelation chapter 2. Two and 5, right? My bad. It's 2 and 1 I should begin at. It says, unto the Malachim of the synagogue of Ephesians write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walk in the midst of 7 golden candlesticks. I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, and how thou cannot bear them which are evil, and hast tried them which say they are apostles and are not, and hast found them liars. So now he's referencing people that's directly saying that they're an apostle. No, let's just sit back and look at this here real quick. Give me 1 second. Boom. So, and the Greek word for apostle is apostolos, and then, we know that apostle is somebody who is specifically been taught by the master, but it's also a delegate or a messenger, or one sent forth, or one that is sent. You know what I'm saying? So he's saying that these people are saying that they have been sent, and he's saying they are liars. He say, cursed be the man that do the work of Yah deceitfully. And see, that'll take you back to when you look at Jeremiah 23, and he tells you that I have not sent these men, I have not put no word in their mouth, but therefore they have ran. And as we talked about a few weeks ago, like in Ezekiel, let's look at that in Ezekiel 13 real fast. Because remember that Malachi chapter 2 tells you that the priest's lips should keep the law in his mouth, for he is the messenger of Yahuwah of hosts. He has been sent, and the people should seek knowledge at his mouth. So one of the key components of someone being sent, as it says in Ezra, about Ezra the scribe, that he was a ready scribe, and he sought out the law of Yahuwah to do it. This is in Ezra chapter 7. You know what I'm saying? This man knew the law. So if someone is sent, they would know the law inward, in and out, back and forth. There would be no question about it. Dang, I forgot what I did. My head is killing me. Well, let's look at that Ezra chapter 7 while I'm trying to remember what it was I said before that. And I got to speed it up a bit. I can't spend too much time on this. 7 and 10. Well, 7 and 6, and then we drop down to verse 10. This Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was a ready scribe in the law of Moses, which Yahuwah Elohim had given, and the king granted him his request according to the hand of Yahuwah his Elohim upon him. You look at verse 10, right? For Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the Torah of Yahuwah and to do it, and to teach in Yasharal statutes and judgments. So the first thing he thought about in his mentions before he even went to go teach anybody the word is that he sought to do it himself. So remember now, he said this is a delegate, this is a messenger, this is someone who is sent. And it said the priest's lips should keep knowledge, and that the law should be in his mouth. So this man should have the word, it should be in his mouth, should readily be accessible to do so. Let's show another example of what I'm talking about. 2 Timothy chapter 2. See, the scribes and Pharisees kept the law deceitfully, did the work deceitfully, because they had covetousness in their heart, and they were devouring widows' houses and taking gifts and things of this nature and placing their traditions above the word of Elohim, therefore doing the work deceitfully. This is why he said they seek not. Oh, that's why it was Ezekiel 13. He said they seek not to enter into the kingdom of Shamahim, nor were they seeking to allow others to enter in. So you have to pay attention to that. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 24. It says, and the servant of Yahuwah must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach, patient, in meekness instructing those that oppose themselves, if Elohim peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth. that they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will. I notice it says that this servant has to be apt or ready to teach, as you've seen with Ezra. It also states that also if it says a bishop, they say let's look at something about what it says about a bishop or a pastor. A qualification that many may overlook that is very, very important. And this is verse 6. Well, we'll read verse 5 just on general principle, or verse 4 just on general principle. It says, one that rule well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the house of Elohim? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But the next one is, it's not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride he fall into the condemnation of the devil. So when he says not a novice, you know, a novice is a rookie. So if you are a novice, then quite naturally you're going to be doing the work of Yahuwah deceitfully, whether it's intentional or unintentional, because you really don't know what you're doing. So if you really don't know the word, then you're not qualified to do it. Like, then this goes back to when he's sitting back saying that curse, when he say he found them to be messengers or delegates and are liars, because you're a novice, you're not prepared, you're not actually qualified skill-wise to actually perform the function of the job that you're seeking to perform. Nevertheless, Ezekiel 13, and then we'll deal with what he means when he say, cursed be the one that keep back his sword from blood. Because you got to ask yourself, why would this man say a man would be cursed if he kept his sword back from blood? That doesn't make any sense to a certain extent. Why would he curse somebody for keeping their sword back from blood? What would be the means and reason for him to do that? Because he said if you keep back your sword from blood, you curse. You go to Ezekiel 13 about verse 17. And we look at, I'm just looking at the word keep back. That means to withhold or to refrain. That word is manah. And then we keep back with sword and blood. We already know that. That's the dam. So when we look at that sword, it's your knife or your cutting instrument or your dagger. And that's karev. So we want to sit back and know, why does he say you're going to be cursed if you don't swing that sword? Because he said you got to swing that sword. 13 and 17. We'll look at 13 and 14 though. He says, so I will break down the wall that you have daubered with untempered mortar and bring it down to the ground, so that the foundation thereof shall be discovered, and it shall fall, and you shall be consumed in the midst thereof, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. Thus will I accomplish my wrath upon the wall, and upon them that have daubed it with untempered mortar, and will say unto you, the wall is no more, neither they that daubed it. To wit, the prophets of Yasharal, which prophesy concerning Jerusalem, and will see visions of shalom for her, and there is no shalom. Saith Yahuwah Elohim. Likewise, thou son of man. Now that part, now he's going into the women. And when he was going to talk about the women, what he came here for is that he said they hunt the souls of the people that should be kept alive, and set free the souls of those that ought to be killed. Now, they're doing the work of Yah deceitfully. When you look at doing the work of Yah deceitfully, for lack of a better term, like I said, we could look in Jeremiah 23 and numerous other places. Yah willing, we'd have to revisit this when we go to dealing with the split in the kingdom. Doing the work of Yah deceitfully is this: promising sinners life when they ought to be damned. We'll look at Jeremiah 23 just for that. But let's read Ezekiel 13 and 18, because I don't want to leave it like that. And say, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, woe to the women that sew pillows to all harm holes, and make kerchiefs upon the head of every stature to hunt souls. When you hunt the souls of my people, and when you save the souls alive that come unto you, and when you pollute me among my people for handfuls of barley and for pieces of bread, to slay the souls that should not die, and to save the souls alive that should not live, by your lying to my people that hear your lies. Now let's look at Jeremiah 23. So we sitting back looking at doing the work of Yah deceitfully is telling people that who ought to die that they gonna live. It's the same way when the master said in Matthew 15 about the scribes, when they say if a man cursed his father and his mother and he left her to get a gift at the altar, that they were straight. So someone who was worthy of death, they were saying he could live. But when the master was healing people on the Shabbat or doing certain miracles on the Shabbat, him that should live, they wanted to hunt his soul and kill him. That's doing the work of Yahuwah deceitfully. You're not doing the work of Yahuwah and Ruach and in truth if you're not telling these people about themselves. According to what the word say, not according to you don't want to go off on people. Because if it's aligned with the word and the person is against the word, then you got to suck that up. And that's what people don't want to do, and it actually exposes Truthfully, their hatred for Yah, not their hatred for you, their hatred for the word. The man told you that they don't have no love for the word. It's a reproach to them. They don't take no delight in it. Jeremiah 23, verse 14. He said, I have seen also in the province of Jerusalem a horrible thing. They that commit adultery and walk in lies, they strengthen also the hand of evildoers, that none doth return from his wickedness, and they are all of them unto me as Sodom, and the inhabitants thereof as Gomorrah. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah of hosts concerning the prophets, behold, I will feed them with wormwood, and make them drink the water of gall, for from the prophets of Jerusalem the profane is gone forth into all the land. Notice that this man said they were strengthening the hand of evildoers. This is clearly doing the work of Yahuwah deceitfully. And he said, you'll be cursed for this. But what does he mean about you holding back your sword from blood, that you would be cursed? Well, let's look and see. Hebrews 4 and 12. Because if you're doing the work of Yah, then he tell you to put on the whole armor and take with you the sword of the Ruach, which is the word of Elohim. So you're supposed to be taking the word with you. And let's see, before we even read Hebrews 4 and 12, Hosea chapter 6. If you're preaching the word, you're supposed to swing that sword. That same sword that cuts is the same word that can heal. For the same word that cut is the same word that can heal. But before the person can be healed, that sword has to be swung. And people don't like to swing that sword. And you got to swing it. That's why you go back to make sure you got the beam out your own eye, that when you swing it, you ain't turn around and hitting yourself with it. Hosea chapter 6. Oh my goodness, my head hurts so bad. Verse 5. He said, therefore have I hewed them by the prophets, and I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and thy judgments are as the light that go forth. For I have desired mercy and not sacrifice, the knowledge of Elohim more than burnt offerings. See, this also take you when you look at Ezekiel, when he told him to warn the people that the sword was coming, and if the sword took him away, then that blood would be on his hands, because you didn't do the work of Yahuwah and Ruach and in truth by swinging that sword to cut them before the sword actually came to cut them. You notice that it says in a couple places in Luke chapter 2 and in Acts chapter 2 how the people were pricked to the heart. The word cut them to the heart. And it ought to cut you to cause you to bleed. You know what I'm saying? And when people don't want to swing that sword for the means of correcting other people, if you're doing the work. Notice he said doing the work. If you're doing the work and you ain't swinging that sword, you're bringing damnation to yourself. Now this is just for informational purposes. Who knows? Some of y'all might end up preaching one day. Who knows? But you need to know it though. Y'all knows. Man may not know. 4 and 12. Hebrews. And we come back to Jeremiah 48 because it's 8 o'clock. I got a lot in that chapter, but I had to deal with that. He said, for the word of Elohim is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing of sunder of soul and ruach, and the joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. Now you sit back and you look at it, when that word swing, it shows what, when that sword swing, it shows what's in your heart and what's in your mind. And if you doing the work, you cannot hold that sword back. And people like to hold that sword back for a multitude of different reasons. But that man said you cursed if you do so, because you can't hold your sword back from blood, because you don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, or you don't want to offend nobody, or you don't want to make nobody feel bad. Because everybody think you, the same word that is to encourage you is also to correct you. The same word that cuts you is the same word that'll heal you. The same word will tear you down to build you back up again. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people don't want to be torn down. They don't want to be cut because they don't want to be healed, and they don't want to be rebuilt. See, that's where the problem comes in at. Everybody want to be built up, but before you build a structure, you have to lay a foundation. And if that structure is on an existing foundation, you must destroy the existing foundation before you can rebuild the new structure, or else you're going to have a problem. Do you know what I'm saying? If you want to be, if you say you have a sickness of sin, then you got to be pricked, cut, so you can be healed by that same word. Nobody wants that. Everybody want to come in and be made to feel great. You keep that church stuff to yourself. There is no joy in being separated from your Elohim. No joy in that whatsoever. You cannot be looking and finding joy in the fact that you are knowingly and willfully separating yourself from your Elohim. Not being separated through ignorance. I'm talking about knowing and willfully doing so. Jeremiah 48, in verse 11. He said, Moab hath been at ease from his youth, and he hath settled on his lees, and he hath not been empty from vessel to vessel, neither have he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remained in him, and his scent is not changed. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that I will send him unto wanderers, that shall cause him to wander, and shall empty the vessels, and break their bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed of Chemosh, as the house of Yasharal was ashamed of Bethal, their confidence. How say ye, we are mighty and strong men for war? Moab is spoiled, and gone up out of her cities, and his chosen young men are gone down to the slaughter, saith the Malach, whose name is Yahuwah of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction haste fast. And ye that are about him bemoan him, and all ye that know his name say, how is the strong staff broken, and the beautiful rod? Thou daughter that dost inhabit Dibon, come down from thy esteem, and sit in thirst. For the spoil of Moab shall come upon thee, and he shall destroy thy strongholds. Now, we just read about 7 verses, and we will go through all 7 verses, and depending on how much, and then depending on how much time we have remaining, will dictate how further along we go in this chapter. Because y'all willing, we'll pick up the rest of it on the Sabbath to finish out the chapter, most high willing. Because it allowed me to tie into the mocking things that we got started on last week. When we look at Moab, we know Moab, the name Moab means of the father. So of the father has been at ease from his youth. So we have to sit back and look at that matter right there. Let's go look at something in about go ahead, Job 13, about verse 27. I'm going to say. Been at ease from his youth. And after that, we go to John chapter 8, 13 and 27, Job. Make it 25, actually, or 24, or 23. He said, how many of my iniquities and sins make me to know my transgression and my sin? As we sit back and we look at well, it's gonna go into it in Jeremiah 48 as the chapter goes on, what Moab's sin is. And we'll look at verse 29. Y'all can go ahead and read about verse 29, though. You can actually come over here to Jeremiah 48 and 28. Since we mentioned that, I just can't leave that empty-handed and floating in the wind. 48 and 28 in Jeremiah. It says, O ye that dwell in Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove that make her nest in the sides of the hole's mouth. We have heard the pride of Moab. He is exceeding proud. His loftiness and his arrogance and his pride and the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, saith Yahuwah, but it shall not be so. His lies shall not so affect it. Now notice he says that Moab's sin in this particular instance is his pride and his arrogancy and his loftiness and the haughtiness of his heart. No, you know, a lot of people be like, see, but that's saying of the father. Now, just because literally Moab had that problem. But when we turn around and we look at it at Mashiach's confidence in his belief in his father, the things that he stated, that caused the people to believe that he had that same issue. Now, and I know because my man in Detroit say he deal with the same thing. I ain't had too many people say it to me directly, but I've had people say it about me, but they never said it to me. When you are very confident in your Elohim and the things that he has bestowed upon you and whatever case may be, even if you just talk about naturally and you're a confident individual naturally, the average person will take that as pride. They'll take it that you're arrogant because you are confident in yourself. Being confident in yourself is being confident in your abilities or confident in the person that you serve who gave you said abilities or taught you said abilities. Arrogance is you think you're better than someone. See, when he said that in Luke, how that's That's Pharisee. See, let's show an example of arrogancy while we hold in Job 13. Look at Luke chapter 18. This is an example of arrogancy. So you know the fear of Yahuwah is to hate arrogancy. So you have to know the difference between confidence and being arrogant. Most people don't know the difference between arrogance and confidence. 18 and 11. 18 and 9 actually, Luke. It says, he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. Two men went up into the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee and the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, Elohim, I thank thee that I'm not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. I fast twice in the week, and I give tithes of all that I possess. This man thought he was better than other people. Now, we can't necessarily say that this man here is a transgressor himself about what we're about to read in Isaiah 65, but he thought he was better than other people. And the publican standing afar off would not lift up so much as his eyes unto Shamahim, but smote his breast, saying, Elohim, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalts himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. And the keynote of how you said that, you could see that he exalted himself because he was thinking, Elohim, that he was not like these people. Therefore, he had lifted himself up above these people. Let's look at Isaiah 65. That is arrogancy. That is not confidence right there. You know, in my lifetime, I've seen it and I've heard it. Confident people usually intimidate people. I know on the flip side, you deal with and I say that for men too. Most people are attracted to confident people, people that are assured of themselves, because insecurity is not a very enamoring character trait. You know what I'm saying? And insecurity is a byproduct of fear. And then you have the love and faith in the living Elohim. He hasn't given you the ruach of fear, and perfect love cast out fear. So therefore, insecurity cannot reside in a servant of the living Elohim. It's not going to reside there, because truth be told, insecurity is fear. Whatever it is that you fear, it's whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? But that's the root cause of insecurity, is something that you fear. It might be, you might fear what people might say about your looks or your intelligence or many other things that people fear. This is why people have problem with confident people, because it magnifies their insecurities. And most people don't want you to magnify the things that they're weak at or they don't like with themselves. They like for you to tamper yourself down so that they can feel equal or greater than everyone else around them. Which is why usually weak people like to keep weak or weaker people around them, because it makes them feel better about themselves. You know, confident people are never threatened by other confident people or people of equal or greater skill than them, because they will either elevate their game to meet their skill, or they're going to keep plugging and doing what it is that they do. You have to pay attention to that type of stuff, because your Elohim is a confident, firm power. Therefore, his sons and daughters are confident, firm people, because their confidence and their firmness is in him. Not in themselves, but in him, as it's supposed to be. 65 and 2. Isaiah 65 and 2. I have spread out my hands all the day unto a rebellious people, which walk in a way that was not good after their own thoughts. A people that provoke me to anger continually to my face, that sacrifice in gardens and burn incense upon altars of brick, which remain among the graves and lodge in the mountains, which eat swine's flesh, and a broth of abominable things is in their vessel, which stand by them thyself, which say, stand by thyself, come not near to me, for I am Kadesh than thou. These are smoke in my nose and a fire that burn all the day. See, that's arrogancy right there. That's pride. And when you look at the things that the master did, which we're about to read one in John chapter 11, you will see that. Let's hit this Job 13 and finish that out though. You're going to see that the things that the master said, these people took that as pride and arrogancy, and therefore they wanted to bring him down because of it. Because I'm telling you, in this life, when he said that they will kill you and think they do Elohim service, it would be because of your confidence in your Elohim. When you're a confident person, you are a real person, because you're going to be authentic. You're going to be who you are. You know what I'm saying? People throw the word real around very, very loosely. All it is just being honest and being true. That's all it is. If you a hustler, then you a hustler. If you a killer, you a killer. If you a Kadeshim, you a Kadeshim. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, what you see is what you get. You don't change up on people. You don't switch out on people. You're not one way on Tuesday and another way on Friday. You're consistently the same. And most people are not like that. Some people are act a particular way around one group of people, then act another way around another group of people. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't solid. You know what I'm saying? Some people can be in forced and contrived situations and relationships with people that they know they don't care to deal with or care to talk to, and they go hang with these people and front like they cool with these people. And sit around, and I don't understand how people do that. If you don't want to be fooled up with somebody, then don't be fooled up with them. There's no shame in that. That's all being real is being who you are. You know what I'm saying? I knew dudes, man. Dudes, they didn't walk around acting like they were killers. When we was in the street, we didn't walk around acting like we were killers. We were hustlers, man. We were trying to make some money. I'm not a killer, I'm not a gangster. I'm just me. I'm just me. And most people aren't just them, because most people are not themselves because they're not happy with who they are. So they try to put on a persona of what they perceive that people will accept and love and like, because they don't accept and love and like themselves. So when people run across people who accept, like, and love themselves, there's a problem. That's why they hated the master. If you love Yah, you gotta love yourself. Because when you put that word up to yourself, like James told you in his epistle, it's like you looking at a man beholding himself in a natural glass. You see yourself for who you are. And if you see the things that are contrary to the word when you hold that mirror up, then you get the boogers out your nose. You get the spinach out your teeth. You comb your hair. Do you know what I'm saying? You clean yourself up. You get yourself presentable. And when you look in the mirror, you be like, yeah, boy, all right, boy, we're ready to go out. We're ready to go out the door now. We good. We looking good. We feeling good. You got to look at that. People who are insecure and unconfident usually like to demean, deface, and destroy people who are. And that's what they did to the master. 13:23. He say, how many are my iniquities and sins? Make me to know my transgression and my sin. Wherefore hide thy face and hold me for thine enemy? Wilt thou break a leaf driven to and fro, and wilt thou pursue the dry stubble? For thou write bitter things against me, and make me to possess the iniquities of my youth. Now remember, he said, he that's of the Father been at Eve from his youth. Well, let's look and see in John chapter 6 what the master got to say about that. Look how he say, notice he say, will you not tell me what my sin is? He say, will you hold your peace while my enemy is seeking to take me down? The enemy being death and sinners, because that's who taking this man down. Because at the end of the day, this word is very cut and dry, and there are sides to be chosen. That man told you, you better be hot or cold and not lukewarm. Ain't no straddling, no fence. Sides must be chosen. Kadesh or unkadesh, clean or unclean, righteousness or wickedness, Yahuwah or the adversary. Which side will you choose? Which side will you choose? And unfortunately, there will be people who you love that will be on the other side of that sword. He told you that in Micah, that he'll set a man at variance, and it'd be 5 in a household, and 3 be against 2, and 4 against 1. Mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, father-in-law against son-in-law, and a man's foes would be those of his own household. Don't take it for no joke. Don't take it for no joke. Understanding what your Elohim is telling you, that you have to keep everything in perspective with every person that you deal with. All right. You have to take everything in perspective with every person that you deal with on whatever fashion or level that you deal with them on. You have to deal with you have to take everything as it is with your family. Your family members may go to hell. Your family members may very well be your enemies, and very, very well may be wicked beyond repair. Your childhood friends, your friends over a lifetime, very well may go to hell and may be wicked beyond repair. People whom you meet who claim to be in the way of the living Elohim may be your enemies and may go to hell and may be wicked beyond repair. But if you find people who are literally from the heart servants of the living Elohim, You ought to cleave very close unto them, whether they be your friends or whether they be someone whom you would want to join yourself to as far as a spouse, or if you already have a spouse and that's what they own, then you need to cleave unto them, because people of that nature are very, very rare. They're not out here on these streets on every corner, and you can't take it that these type of people just gonna pop up out of anywhere, because it's a whole cavalcade of people that profess to be servants of the living Elohim. All of them are not true. All of them are not true servants of the living Elohim. It's just what it is. He said all of Yasharal is not of Yasharal. So everyone is not born of Mashiach. So if you find those who are, you got to stick close unto them, because there's strength in numbers, because it's going to be way more wicked people than it is righteous. You know, I sit back and I look at the things that our people post and say all the time. You know what I'm saying? We were just talking about this the other day. Why niggas be in such a rush to marry somebody. I just seen a woman today say, oh, these dudes in the truth. That's why we got to pick men outside the truth. Niggas don't really want to be married to a righteous man or woman, period. They just want a body next to them. That's why they can't even recognize or even wait for people who are the living Elohim. That's why they can't find friends that are the living Elohim, because people want to be friends and be joined to who they want to be joined to, and they could care less. Alright. And they could care less. You know what I'm saying? They really, really could care less. And you have to pay attention to that, because those are harsh realities of where you have to know this. Evil communications corrupt good manners. So we have to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves in every situation and circumstance that we're in, and every individual person that we deal with, even those who profess to be in the faith. Because I don't like to say talk about in the truth. Oh, that's just almost a generic way to say, like, you go to church or something. That's how niggas throw it out there. It's generic. It has no weight. It has no meaning. Because they take being in the truth as knowing you of Yasharal, instead of being in the way, being in the faith. Because this takes you to Elohim. Niggas say they in the truth. They talking about themselves. They ain't talking about Elohim. What I came over here for, man? John chapter 8. I can't even remember what I came for. John 8 and 54. Yahusha answered, if I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Abba that honor me, of whom you say that he is your Elohim. Yet you have not known him, but I know him. And if I should say I know him not, I should be a liar like unto you. But I know him and keep his saying. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. That's right, we were going to John chapter 6. Then said the Yahudim unto him, thou art not yet 50 years old. Thou hast seen Abraham? Yahusha said unto them, truly, truly, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. Now let's look at something in John chapter 6, because what we're dealing with is we know the Lamb was slain from the foundation of the world. But in the days of his youth, he was at ease. Why was he at ease? Because the mystery had to unfold before he was revealed. So he was just chilling. It wasn't his time. Matter of fact, praise the Lamb. You sit back and you look at it, that while he was in the flesh, he was in the days of his youth, and he was still at ease, because he hadn't began to suffer yet. And you have to sit back and look at that. Until you begin to suffer for the word, then you're at ease. See, and that's where the testing come in at, where your reigns have got to be tried, where the persecution and tribulation for the word got to come in, because see where you at, because you've been at ease. That's why it's real easy for people to say, I love y'all, I love the word, I stand firm for him, till they get moved from being at ease. When things get a little difficult, things get a little rough, little challenges in your face, then we will begin to see where you at. This is why the master said, you are those who were with me in my temptations. Because when he got put to not be at ease, this man stood firm. They have to sit back and look at yourself, not even just in the word. Look at your whole life. And look how you dealt with adverse situations. Look at what you did well. Look at what you didn't do well. And then make the moves to be able to correct what you didn't do well, and to also focus on what you did well. Because I'm going to tell you, the best way to deal with adversity is to face it head on. Not to run from it, not to hide from it, not to wish it go away, not to pray for it to go away, but to take the bull by the horns and look it straight in the face with no fear. And whatever happens, happens. But you have to stand firm. This is why Paul say, nothing will separate us from the love of Mashiach. Not distress, not persecution, not tribulation. We just talked about this a couple weeks ago. If people are troubling you, it's a righteous thing of Elohim for him to pay them back. He said that's the token of his righteous judgment that you suffer for his name if you have to endure that. Because it's the manifest token of his judgment that you are ordained to be saved, and the manifest token that the individual troubling you is a vessel fitted unto destruction, a vessel made for his wrath, that his power might be made known. See, the master took every form of adversity and looked it square in the face and did not blink. Was he nervous when they came to kill him? Yeah. He still faced it head on. You're going to be nervous. I'm not saying you're not going to be nervous. I'm not going to say that you're not going to have butterflies and this, that, that, and the third. But you got to face it. That's the hallmark of character. This is what will conform you to become a son and daughter of Elohim. Not just hoping it go away. And again, that comes back into what we were referring to in confidence. Your confidence in your Elohim will therefore give you confidence in yourself that you can endure all things through him. And this will cause his enemies to hate you. Nevertheless, John 6 and 36. Make it 32. Then Yahushua said unto them, truly, truly, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from Shamahim, but my Abba give you the true bread from Shamahim. For that bread of Elohim is he which come down from Shamahim and give life unto the world. Then said they unto him, Master, evermore give us this bread. Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that come to me shall never hunger. He that believe on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you that ye also have seen me and believe not. All that my Father give me shall come to me. Him that come to me I will in no wise cast out. You know, a lot of people sit back and they say, well, how can you, I believe in him, so he ain't going to cast me out. But in actuality, he said, you will not come to me that you might have life. His niggas not coming to this man. Because if you're going to come to this man, you're going to bend yourself under his subjection and unto his rulership and his authority. And you will hearken unto him. As I just was telling Will last night, and I told y'all numerous times, your life does not belong to you. Your life has been purchased. Let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 6 to just reiterate that cause. That man said, you sold yourselves for naught, and you shall be redeemed without money. You were not redeemed with corruptible things like silver and gold from the vain behavior of your fathers, but of the blood of the Lamb, without spot or blemish. So you've been paid for. So you walk around here thinking it's my life, and I can do what I want to, and I can live how I want to, and you are going to hell. Because we have all thus judged that if one died, then we're all dead. And that we should no longer live our lives unto ourselves, but unto him who died and rose again. You gotta get that stuff about your head. It's not your life. It's not. It does not belong to you. You do not belong to nobody but Yahuwah B'Hashem Yahushua. That's who you belong to. He bought your behind when he brought you out of Mizraim, and he came and brought you out of Mizraim and bought you back again. You better not fall like your ancestors fell when he bought them, because they felt like it was their life and I can do what I want and I want what I want and I can go where I want to go and I can do what I want to do, and it's not a big deal and it doesn't matter. You're going to perish just like they perished. You do not belong to yourself. Your life is not yours. That has to fall into your brain and resonate and sink in. Nobody cares what you want to do. Some of y'all are parents. If your children came and asked you, I don't want to do that, your first response is, I didn't ask you what you wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? We sitting around here telling this man what we gonna do. This man never asked you what you wanted to do. You can make your petitions unto him. If they not according to his will, then you're gonna have to suck that up. But you think you can tell that man what you want to do. That man don't care what you want to do. That man told exactly what your whole duty is. That is to fear him and to keep his instructions and to offer yourself as a living sacrifice. That's your reasonable service. That is your duty in this whole entire life. Anything else is a bonus. Anything else is a bonus. Your whole duty and purpose in life is to fear and tremble at the thought and the hearing of this man's name and to do what he tell you to do. But a nigga tell you that ain't what you're here for. And that's somebody sitting doing the work of y'all deceitfully gonna have you burning in hell. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Now verse 19. Let's look at 17 though. He say, for he that is joined unto the master is one ruach. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man do is without the body, but he that commit fornication sin against his own body. What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Ruach HaKodesh, which is in you, which you have of Elohim, and ye are not your own. For you are bought with a price. Therefore esteem Elohim in your body and in your Ruach, which are Elohim's. That man done purchased you with his blood. I don't know how you think you your own. The book just sat there and tell you, you are not your own. What you want to do means absolutely nothing to the living Elohim. Not to me. Let that be known for smart mouth niggas. That's to Yah. What you want to do doesn't matter to him. And when are we going to get that in our brain that it doesn't matter what you want to do if it take you outside of this man's will? You ought to be designed to be in this man's will, not doing what you want to do. Because now you're not a servant of Elohim. You your own God. You done set an idol up in your heart. Because that's who you serve. Your desires, your will, your way. How you expect to be saved that way? That's why we in this God-forsaken place now. Back to Jeremiah 48. See, that's what happens when you get easy in your youth. That's why the book tell you to flee child. Let's look at that. Second Timothy chapter 2. This is why the book tell you to flee childish lust. Because you was at ease. And you were chilling. You know, everybody remember when you was a child. That's why Paul told you when I was a child, I thought as a child, I spake as a child. But when I became a man, I put childish things away. Grown men are not at ease. Grown men to stay on point. Because they got responsibilities to handle, whatever those responsibilities may be for each individual man. 2 Timothy chapter 2. Yeah. We'll pick it up about verse 20 though. I'll make it 19 because I'm feeling good. Oh man, I got 30 minutes. Not even that long. Nevertheless, the foundation of Elohim stands sure, having this seal, the master know them that are his. Let everyone that name the name of Mashiach depart from iniquity. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, some to honor and some to dishonor. And if a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. Flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, shalom, with them that call on the master out of a pure heart. Notice he said with them that call on him out of a pure heart. And we talked about a pure heart last week. And that goes back to what I just mentioned. People always say if you find a good man, good woman, hold on to him. If you find people who truly, sincerely serve the living Elohim and Ruach and in truth, whose faith is unshakable, unmovable, and firm, you ought to cleave unto them. Because there are many people who do not love this man, who pretend to love this man, who do not believe in this man, and pretend to believe in this man, and they could be your destruction and downfall if you stick too closely to them. You know what I'm saying? Servants of the living Elohim are a rare breed. They are a rare breed. That's why he say few will find the narrow gate. So just like he said, you need to follow righteousness and faith and love and shalom with them that call on this man with a clean heart. And how is a man's heart clean? By the washing of the water of the word. Niggas read the word, speak the word, and his heart still filthy. How is that possible? How can you hear the word for an extended period of time and your mind still wicked? That don't make no sense to me. Go over here to Malachi chapter 3 real quick. I ain't talking about you might have an issue you're struggling with. That might not even got nothing to do with doing a physical sin.
Keep going. Keep going.
It might just be dealing with, just like we said, you might have some insecurities about your appearance. You might have some insecurities about your intelligence level. People have insecurities about all type of things. And those are just fears that can be strengthened. See, now when we talk about insecurities like that, those are things you may have carried from your youth. You might have low self-esteem for whatever reason. Your confidence might be low for whatever reason, the things you experience. And that's why it's good to stick to those who call on the master out of a pure heart, who can help you get past those things and deal with those things. Because most people who don't have a pure heart, they don't care what you got to deal with or even care to help you overcome those things. Because most people just want to do nothing but ridicule you about them and talk bad about you. Oh, that nigga there this and he that and that and the third. But never offer any solutions to assist you to overcome these things, which will allow you to become a better person. Because most niggas ain't trying. Niggas don't want you to be better than them in no capacity. 3 and 2. He said, but who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appear? For he is like a refiner's fire and like a fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto Yahuwah an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Yehuda and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Yahuwah as in the days of old, as in the former day. Notice that when he say make an offering in righteousness, and that's an offering in faith. See, let me get this Hebrews 11 and 1 real fast. See, this is so back the difference right this here, right? If you have not been purified, which means you haven't been taken through the affliction because you were at ease, which this is going to come back to what we read in Jeremiah 48. I promise it is. Because you were at ease, you can't be purified. Therefore, your offering can't be accepted because it has impurities. Because he needs to purify you with the fire and then wash you. So this is what the things that come in at is that niggas making offerings and sacrifices that are not acceptable because they have blemishes and they unclean. And they unclean. Simple as that. Dang.
Is outside of your plan and will incur a 1 cent per minute charge if you continue. You can hang up now to avoid the charge. Welcome. There are 5 participants in the conference. Please announce yourself.
Sorry about that, everybody. There we go. Alright. So you have to look at that. If there are blemishes in that, the sacrifice, before the master could be sacrificed, he was washed and he was taken through the fire so that could be an acceptable offering in Yehuda and Jerusalem as in the days of old and in the former years. Because he was sacrificed before the foundation of the world. Therefore, that offering was acceptable because he was washed and taken through the fire then. And we need to be washed and taken through the fire and to be made pure. We can't sit back and say that we the people of Elohim and you don't want the people of Elohim to be your friends. You can't say that you're a man or woman of Elohim and you don't want a man or woman of Elohim as your spouse. Because then this token is, we're going to continue doing what we've been doing. Whether you choose them for friends or whether you choose them as mates, we will produce children and offspring who are enemies of our Elohim. And that has to stop. That has to stop. He says, I'm a companion of those that fear thee. And that's where our mind got to go at. He said, not the ones that are hypocrites of thee, not the ones who talk of thee. He said, them that fear thee, I am a companion of theirs. I'm joined to them. And that's what we have to look at. What did I just say I wanted? I don't remember. Nevertheless, let's go back to Jeremiah 48. I got to crank it up a notch. I forgot what I wanted. Jeremiah 48. That's Isaiah 48. And not Jeremiah 48. So we see how he's been at ease from his youth. But then he said he's settled on his lees. So we need to look at what he means when he is settled on his lees. And he said he has not been emptied of his vessel. When we look at him settling on his lees, that is wine. That is shamar, that's lees or dregs or wine. He has settled on his wine because he was at ease in his youth. When we look at settled, oh, excuse me, y'all. It will come and it ain't come out though. That's shakat, and that's to be quiet, to be at shalom, to be tranquil, to be inactive. So he was quiet with his wine. I'm going to show you why I say you got to be quiet with your wine. Lamentations of Jeremiah, chapter 3. And it prayed the Lamb. This going to tie into something else. And this will show you how the master was quiet with his wine too. And it'll show you that when you're dealing with adversity, when you're dealing with certain stuff, that you don't actually have to respond or speak back to the people who may be accusing you, who may be ridiculing you, who may be reproaching you, who may be mocking you, who may be lying on you, but to take it patiently if you have done no wrong. and wait for your Elohim to come deliver you from that situation, just as Hamashiach did, and just as you're going to see Jeremiah speak of. Lamentations, the 3rd chapter. What my verse at? What I want for this, man. There we go, verse 37. Who is he that saith, and it come to pass, when Yahuwah commanded not? Out of the mouth of the Most High proceed not evil and good? Wherefore doth a living man complain, a man for the punishment of his sins? That's not what I want. Never mind. That's not what I want. That's something totally different. That is something totally different. I can't use that one. Not what we're talking about right now. There we go. Verse 23. Make it 22. My apologies. But I'll use 19. Or make it 18. And I said, my strength and my hope is perished from Yahuwah. Remember my affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall. My soul have them still in remembrance and is humbled in me. This I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. That's why we were going to get Hebrews 11. It is of Yahuwah's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Yahuwah is my portion, saith my soul. Therefore will I hope in him. Yahuwah is good unto them that wait for him, and to the soul that seek him. It is good that a man should both hope and quietly wait for the salvation of Yahuwah. It is good for a man that he bear the yoke in his youth. Now remember, he told you to flee childish lust. When we look at childish lust, we see that the childish lust of Adam was to go after what he wanted, which was to partake in this tree. Remember, he said the master had been at ease, well, Moab, or he that is of the father, had been at ease since his youth. And he was quiet with his wine. Now notice that this man, what we were going to read in Hebrews 11 was how it said that Abel made a more perfect sacrifice that was acceptable to Elohim. Why? Because Abel's hope and confidence was in his Elohim. Therefore, this is why this offering was with fire and cleansed to be accepted. See, we think that we can bring Yah anything and he gonna take it. And he's not. It's the same token that I know that Hebrews think like this, because I've seen it. A nigga think because they get married, that means something. All marriage is good and acceptable. He said marriage is honorable all in all. Whether it's a Kadeshim marrying a sinner, or two sinners marrying each other, or two Kadeshim marrying each other. He honors and respects that. But that's not the key, the road to salvation for any man or woman, because you go get you a mate. They say you're not keeping the commandment by being fruitful and multiply. And this is the excuses that niggas use to marry sinners and to be unequally yoked. You know what I'm saying? People use all manner of excuses to try to use the word to satisfy and satiate their lust. So then they feel like because it's something that's in line with the word, that it makes it acceptable. And it doesn't. Because your heart is still filthy. It's still unclean. It still hasn't been cut. Therefore, you haven't bled. Well, I'll put it this way. You cut it, but you won't allow the word to heal it. So you continually allow it to leak blood. And that blood being upon yourself, meaning your sins are still upon you. Because remember what the word say? He's saying your blood shall be upon you. Well, this man sat back and said that if the sprinkling of a heifer, the purifying to the unclean and the sanctification, how much more should the blood of Mashiach, who offered himself without spot, purge your conscience from dead works? This man blood can get the blood that you got leaking on yourself from your own transgressions off of you. But we refuse to allow his blood to do so, because we steady want to live for ourselves. We steady forgetting that let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments. This is the whole duty of man. This is the only reason why you're here. You're here for his esteem, not yours, not anybody else's. That's all you're here for. Live your life accordingly, so that he can bestow his esteem upon you, instead of trying to get the esteem of men on you. That's why he said you can't believe that seek honor one from another, because you don't want the honor that comes from Elohim only. You want a nigga to tell you you're righteous. You don't want that crown of life. This is why we oppose and dispose of people who are Elohim. People cut off real people for fake reasons and hold on to fake people for fake reasons. You know what I'm saying? You got to sit back and look at that. Why do people cut off people who are honest, sincere, and authentic with them, they'll cut them off for unimagined false reasons because they don't want their comfort level disturbed. You can never be comfortable in nothing you doing in life. You won't always stuff. Like I told y'all, Michael Jordan made enemies where there were no enemies just so he would not be comfortable on the basketball court to annihilate people. Because I know I'm better than everybody and I'm always winning. But the minute I get comfortable, I'm going to lose. So he was looking for motivation in any way he could find it. He made himself uncomfortable. In some instances, that's not healthy. In some instances, it is. Let's swing over here to 1 Peter chapter 2. Because we know when the man drunk his wine, and y'all know when they grabbed that man, he was very quiet. He ain't utter a word. And sometimes you have to realize that there, right? That in certain situations, if you know that your Elohim is on your side because you have done the work of Yahuwah and Ruach and in truth, then you don't have no need to stand up and say a word. Just take it patiently. That's acceptable with Elohim. Just like Jacob did. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 17. Make it verse 15. For so is the will of Elohim that with well doing you may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. As free and not using your freedom for a cloak of maliciousness, but as servants of Elohim. So understand that knowing that where the Ruach of the Master is, there is freedom. Don't use your freedom to be malicious and spiteful, but use that to serve the living Elohim. A lot of people like to use their freedom to do what they want to do. The Master didn't do that. Honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear Elohim, honor the king. Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the froward. Now sit back right now. This is talking about employees. Because see, people see servants and they automatically think slaves, but this is talking about an employee and an employer. But even you can take that as also going along with people that you deal with, that you ought to be subject and righteous to people, whether they're good and nice or whether their froward is rebelliously contrary. And you can see that with Daniel. Daniel was in reverence and respect to Nebuchadnezzar, though he was froward. The same way that Nehemiah was subject to Darius, though he was good, or Cyrus, even though he was good and gentle. Because he didn't do any evil to these people. And see, when people see this here, they see that's being subject to the white man and all this or other stuff, not seeing the examples of these things that were in the word of men doing this. Because they get it twisted. Because vengeance is of Yahuwah and men want to take things into their own hands. And at times, I understand. Don't get me wrong. You got to judge the situation accordingly. Because, you know, he told you it's a time for shalom, it's a time for war. You know what I'm saying? It's time for all of that. But you don't want to be in a time of war when you're supposed to be in a time of shalom, and you don't want to be in a time of shalom when it's a time of war. You got to be able to have the ability to discern the difference. He said, for this is thankworthy if a man for conscience towards Elohim endure grief, suffering wrongfully. We dealt with this in the past. That's Jacob. That's Joseph. They endured grief, suffering wrongfully. They didn't do anything wrong. He say, for what esteem is it when you be buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently. But if when you do well and suffer for it, and you take it patiently, this is acceptable with Elohim. Remember that. This is why the master was resting on his leaves, and at chilling, he was quiet. After he had his wine, he was quiet. Why was he quiet? Remember, this goes back to that Job, who was a man hated like Job, who drank scorning like water. He done drunk that cup. He's quiet. Let's see how quiet he was. Remember what it said in Psalms? He said, I didn't say a word because thou did it. So you have to remember that. If you've done well, if you look at a situation, you are not in the wrong. You are not in the wrong. You have done no evil towards Elohim nor man. And you suffering for it, Take it patiently. Yahuwah will accept that. Just like he talked about. And it's his will to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. Because he gonna recompense tribulation to everybody that troubled Mashiach, whether they caught it in their lifetime or whether they catch it on the last day. They gonna catch it regardless. Don't think that it's gonna go unnoticed. Don't think that it's not gonna go unrequited. He gonna pay that back. Matthew 26. That's verse we want, man. Matthew chapter 26, probably about verse 60, I suppose. It was something else, another one I was looking for. I'll swing to the other one though. Most High willing. No, praise Yah for the word. Make it 59. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council saw false witnesses against Yahushua to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. And at last came two false witnesses, and said, this fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of Elohim and to build it in 3 days. And the high priest arose and said unto him, answer thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee? But Yahushua held his shalom, and the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living Elohim, that thou tell us whether thou be the Mashiach, the son of Elohim. You know the key point of what you got to pay attention to? If somebody is standing up and you know they lying on you, ain't even no need for you to stand up and defend yourself. They bearing witness against Shamahim and the rats that they ought to go to hell. You don't got to necessarily defend yourself when somebody's lying on you. You can sit there and stand there and look at them stupid while they stand there bearing false witness before people. Because niggas like to tell lies. And the one thing about it, you can tell a nigga something just like an old nigga told him when we were young. It's your lie and you can tell it how you want to. Remember when he sat back and told you that Mashiach, when he suffered, he threatened not. When he was reviled, he threatened not. But he committed himself to he who judges righteously. This is what you seeing him doing right here. This is why Jeremiah say he was settled on his lees. He was quiet and in shalom on his wine. Just like we talked about last week, if you're going to drink that cup and everything that come along with that cup, then you can be quiet on that cup because you have shalom. The authority that's attached to chaos has been destroyed. You can definitely settle on your lees because you can sit back and look at it. I'm at peace. Remember it said assurance. Assurance is confidence. He said, I will not. He said, my flesh rests in hope because you will not allow your Kadesh one to see corruption. He told his apostles, I'm going to resurrect on the 3rd day. This is why he has such confidence to be quiet, because of him committing himself to him who judges righteously. I do not see you niggas. You niggas can't do nothing against me. Look at John chapter 19, what he told old Pilate. I know I ain't going to get all of Jeremiah 48, what we read already. I'm finna get ready to let y'all go because it's almost 9 o'clock. But Most High willing, we have the Sabbath to get as much in as we can. I don't know why I thought I could get all 7 verses in. But y'all know I do that. You just forgive me for it. Y'all know I do it every single time. John chapter 19. Verse 3. And said, Hail, Malach of the Yahudim, and they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again and saith unto him, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Yahushua forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate saith unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priest therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. The Yahudim answered it, We have a Torah, and by our Torah he ought to die, because he made himself the son of Elohim. And there goes his arrogance, and there goes his pride of why they wanted to take him down. And we didn't read the verses before that, because I'm going to come to that, of what the mocking and derision and the ridicule of when they came and mocked him because he said he was the son of Elohim and Yah didn't save him. But now you see what he that is of the Father, what his transgression was. There goes the pride and the arrogancy of what the people manifested, because that's going back to what we read in John when he said before Abraham was, I am. And they wanted to kill him then. Just like in John 5 and John 10 they wanted to kill him because they say he was making himself equal to Elohim, which in their mind would be pride and arrogancy. See now nobody won't look at you as being proud if you say you a son or daughter of Elohim. Niggas tell that lie every day, B. Niggas sit out here and tell you they're a child of Elohim, telling a bold-faced lie. Child of the devil. You a son of Belial. Worthless. Can't be taken with hands. The man that got to grab you got to grab you with iron, and you're going to be burned together in the same place. Oh, worthless niggas. Keep that in mind when we come to Shabbat day, y'all willing all us alive. Just keep that in mind what I just said about the most sons of Belial. Oh, worthless niggas. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again unto the judgment hall, and saith unto Yahushua, Whence art thou? But Yahushua gave him no answer. He's quiet and assured on his leaves. Now look how he manifests his assuredness and his quietness and his shalom. Then saith Pilate unto him, Speak thou not unto me? Know thou that I have power to crucify thee, and I have power to release thee? Yahushua answered, Thou could have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee have the greater sin. Just know if somebody is troubling you, they're only troubling you because it's coming from above. That's why, let me go back a second. Look at 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Therefore that's why you have to be able to endure it, because it's for your salvation and your sanctification, whether you realize it or not. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, not chapter 2. My apologies for that mistake. We'll look at verse 4, right? So that we ourselves esteem in you the houses of Elohim for your patience and faith in all your persecutions and tribulations that you endure. Going back to what we misread in Jeremiah, Lamentations of Jeremiah, and what Peter said, this is the patience and faith in whatever trouble and whatever persecutions that you endure, which means you persevere through it, which is a manifest token of the righteous judgment of Elohim, that you be counted worthy of the kingdom of Elohim, for which you also suffer. So to be persecuted and to have trouble is a token of the righteous judgment of Elohim, that you have been counted worthy to enter into the gates of the city, that you may have right to the tree of life. Keep that in mind. Seeing is a righteous thing with Elohim to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. And to you who are troubled, rest with us, when the Master Yahushua shall be revealed from Shamahim with his mighty Malachim. Look what he said. Rest with us. Rest with people who are resting in Elohim. Don't rest with sinners. Don't rest with lukewarm people. Rest with them. Come on back to Jeremiah 48. When he looked at it, he said, He have not been empty from vessel to vessel, neither have he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remained in him, and his sin is not changed. When we look at his taste remaining in him, that word for taste is taham, and that's judgment, decision, or decree, or reason, or understanding. It says his taste remained in him, and his scent is not changed. When we look at scent, that is a fragrance or aroma or odor of soothing, a technical term for the sacrifice of Elohim, that is Ra'ak. And then change is self-explanatory. But we'll just get the word, make sure that's the proper word. And change is just like this here, to be changed to altar, that's myrrh. So when we look at, after he sipped this wine, he hasn't been emptied from vessel to vessel. So let's look at him not being empty from vessel to vessel. And I'll paraphrase this here, and then y'all willing, we'll come back and precept it all the way out. That's to make empty, or to empty out, or to keep empty, or to be hungry, or to pour out or down. Because I got to come back to when he sit back, that staff being broken in that beautiful rod. I thought I read something about being thirsty. I did not. So when you look at when he say his taste remained in him, his understanding, his judgment, his reasoning remained in him, or the word remained in him. He hadn't emptied himself out yet, which means emptying himself out of blood and water to be filled with the Ruach. And then we'll end it with Ephesians chapter 5, because it is 4 minutes to 9. And we no longer go past 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. As y'all know, it's 4 for the preaching concern. We already done went too long as it is. Most High willing, we'll go more in depth about his taste remaining in him, and his scent not changing, and also his vessel being emptied, and whatever else we got to get onto. Ephesians 5:1. Be ye therefore followers of Elohim as dear children, and walk in love as Mashiach also loved us, having given himself for an offering and a sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet smelling savor. And why was his scent not changed? Because Hamashiach never deviated nor turned from the word. Therefore that offering and sacrifice could be accepted, because he lived for his father and abided in his father's love and kept his father's commandments, knowing that he did not come down from Shamahim to do his own will, but the will of him that sent him, knowing that his life was not his own, but in the hands of his father Yahuwah Elohim, and therefore he served him. Therefore that scent didn't change when he was offered. It wasn't a mixed sacrifice. It wasn't a mixed incense. It was that sweet smelling savor to be accepted for the salvation of all men. Hallelujah for that. And then again, with that taste remaining in him. Even when you sip that cup and you're resting quietly on your lees and you've emptied yourself out to be filled with Elohim, then your understanding should remain in you. Just because you empty yourself out of the flesh and empty yourself out of a carnal mind, which we're going to come back into that, they're dealing with, you can't put new wine into old vessels. Just because you empty out what's out of the old vessel don't mean your understanding departs with it. But we'll get to that, y'all willing, on Shabbat. But hallelujah for Yahushua, and where we start right there. Y'all understood all that though?